I will try to explain the executive duplicity that went on in the partnership of Clinton and Trump concerning the script of Gail Burstyn, who was never arrested, which is clearly evidence of the AIDS attack, as is the war game they used me for. I was homeless for several years. The Clintons, working with Robert Fripp and Peter Gabriel, choreographed a formula that Carnegie Mellon developed for peer rejection of me as a deaf person. Now, since that's actionable, even under the Swami Nostra of UW Dialectical, they stack the deck with loaded dice by implanting a neurological injury as well. So I was confused as to what, so when they said that forces impinging on the persona's experiences were triggering an abnormal response to rejection. So they rejected, it was an escalation system of rejection. They were preying on a neuroplasm and they'd already decided they weren't recognizing me for my merits. They wouldn't even teach me sign language. Now, none of that has ever sunken in to anybody. The duplicitous nature of the executive is, and King Crimson are unreal when it comes to this issue. Several examples will show you. Yoko Ono talks about um, poor Asian women who are trapped in mental health asylums and then uses a deaf girl who's Korean orphan as a comfort woman and shock absorber for her son's boohoo. My heart went out to the gay community, and I took on the most powerful people with everything I had, trying to protect them, and they only turned on me. Diamond Gaulis stood outside the World Trade Center when they released anthrax, which is a synonym for the COVID crime, and I'll explain how that worked. Clint Eastwood and Larry Flint said Reagan didn't know, and Crary was choreographed rejection by the Virgin because he was in that kind of situation with peers in high school when they claimed, could have saved John Lennon, which is ridiculous. I knew nothing about it. It's from Alpha Centauri. So there's a whole constellation of absurdities. They used King Crimson's album. That was in the evidence to torture me. They ignored that, pretended it didn't happen. And they said the explanation is that Reagan did know and I could have saved John Lennon, but was worked up about rejection from my girlfriend. The Western Pennsylvania School for the Deaf said we've seen situations where deaf guys have been heartbroken because they were rejected by their girlfriends. And they impinged this weird thing from Peter Gabriel's mind and Greg Carl's lewd parochial Nazism. And they said both sides agree that this is the object to hate. So they started hitting both sides back and forth. But Gaulis was in demon studies in the 70s and immunogenetics in the 70s. So they said they were poisoning me in the mouth to make the AIDS victims feel better. Like the tranny goes out and shoots up the school children of parochials because it's the other side of the fence. Never mind that the people who did this whole thing were the ones who sent it. You're supposed to never mind all of the duplicitousness because Reagan didn't know and John Lennon really got it. And the more I got into the semiotic system that they used, I realized that they were using Walrus, Casper, the name of the person who attacked me, Lazarus, and Spirit, all as a synonym for rescuing Hitler, and then Lennon pulled a Houdini. Then you can understand it. They're lying about everything. Then you can understand it. And they say confusion will be your epitaph on their broadcast because they make it all perfectly clear, except that it doesn't make sense because Lennon wouldn't do that, would he? Why would he help the people who killed him? And Paul McCartney explains that people are weird. But it does make sense because Lennon pulled a Houdini. And they're just hitting back and forth to get people to accept it, clearing the air, they call it. This comes from the brain of Roger Waters and so on. And they're doing his revenge on me as a symbol because my father was in the Navy in World War II. Yoko Ono dubbed me the chosen in her letters from Gail Burston. And it's all very well thought out by Oxford. I mean, there's all kinds of details and indexes and to War College index, and it goes on and on. It is the Texas school book. Having read the book, they talk about, it's all hymnography and stuff. Royal method. So, but if you look at the clockwork, it doesn't make sense to say that they poisoned me in the mouth to make the AIDS victims feel better. Is that why they released COVID, to make the AIDS victims feel better? The only people who could release anthrax was not a symbol of resistance to AIDS, is the point. Diamond de Gaulle was masquerading as resistance to AIDS. Nobody knows if Larry Flynn is supposedly the infallible pope of the whole thing. Because he says Reagan didn't know, Craig could have said John Lennon, infallible pope. But both the tranny who was killed children yesterday, and Diamond de Gaulle had the same masquerade, but were actually in the crowd who was behind AIDS, anthrax, COVID, mouth poison. UW Dialectical is a ARC system. It has Black people, Asian people. You know how Seattle operates. One of these, one of there, token this, token that, and we get all the money. We give it all the money. Yeah, the psychotic obsession with money is so obscene that they chew carpets raw. We'll kill you, and they knifed a girl over a penny. I mean, the money must be enormous if the reduced to threatening their own children with a nuclear blast because they were puppeteered by Lenin's Houdini. You see, it doesn't make sense that they would do that. But they did do it because they were being guided by the idea that it was Lenin's will that they do that. You must get revenge for Adolf Hitler. He is Casper the Friendly Ghost. And it traces to King Edward's friendship with Hitler in the Axis. I've yet to find anybody who can explain the picture I found of King Edward with Huey Long. Yet to find one single person, one librarian who can explain it. So, what you need to see is a game called Yo Yimbo. It's where a third party hits both sides and gets them going. Oh, we don't like that side, or we don't like this side, or we don't like that side. I mean, you're not stupid. You've shown me that thousands of times that you're very intelligent. You should be able to get it through your head what they're pulling. It's a Hollywood talking box. I get tired of talking about it. I'm old and have suffering lots of real new aches and pains with this stuff. Parkinson's led to Parkinson's. Divine punishment from from the slipper genius Peter Gabriel or something. You're supposed to overlook all of this, pretend it didn't happen, and that you're doing right by choosing sides in the cause. I guess it's the blockhead aptitude, like boneheads. You don't have the aptitude to see that it's how does cinema put it? Divide and conquer. No, unify and conquer. It's a slippery Graham or worm tongue stuff you would expect from a crowd like Waters and Peter Sinfield. People who brainstormed it, you know. Alan was always piping up that he was a genius, and oh, the wailing, oh, they'll do anything for his memory. You think they couldn't predict that's what was going to happen? They were working on it back in World War One. That's why they thought Sanders lost an arm. He was the invisible arm of the whole thing. Apparently, the lead in Berlin Alexanderplatz is a reference to. It's all in all the Simmons semiotics. I mean, I have a scrapbook. Story checks out, or you can go through it and try to figure out what I know now and how I learned it.